with the whole thing of Elden Ring just about ready to be released and launched, I wanted to go into a bit of a let's talk on the whole thing of, what makes the Souls genre so different from everything else out there. In the past, roughly 10 years, I guess you could say, we have seen a handful of genres pop up, roguelikes and this and that, battle royales, and there is a nice little genre called the SoulsBorne genre. And we're going to jump into what makes it so different. What is it that makes it so much more than just your regular hack and slash gameplay, your regular run-of-the-mill RPG, just your regular run-of-the-mill adventure game? There's a different feel. There's a different atmosphere. So we've brought alongside on board, I guess, Frostbite over here.
On the side, I know. I'm just a side.
Yeah,
He's the side co-streamer.
Yeah.
I'm the ex player too.
Yeah.
Because he keeps wanting to put out applications.
So I think the first I have some bulletins to go over and go over. So I think it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Technically 9 bulletins to go through and talk about different pieces and parts. You're good. Pieces and parts that make up all average of what the Souls games all are. And we're not just talking about Dark Souls. We're talking about the Dark Souls series. We're talking about Bloodborne. We're also talking about anything that is like a Souls game. So Nioh. Some people would say Sekiro, but I think Sekiro is a little more of like a Tenchu game more than it is. That's what it was originally meant to be. And something like The Purge and stuff like that. So the first bulletin I wanted to jump into, the first point of this, was the world. So the worlds of Souls games, including Elden Ring that's coming up, it's vastly different than most anything else that we see out there. Sure, it has its references. Sure, it has its like feel of other games, but just that type of level design that wraps around. So you start off in that one centralized location, you go down a certain pathway, and it keeps wrapping around, and the next thing you know, you're unlocking a gate or a door or something, and you come out and you're like, oh, this is the first checkpoint that I was going through. So the whole level design is made to wrap around. I like to call it the loop around. As soon as you find that loop around,
you don't have like X amount of checkpoints in one area. You got your checkpoint. Sorry, I'm still getting over this cold. And you go out a little ways, and then and you find that little loop around. You come back to that first checkpoint, and you're like, okay, now I got a shortcut to get back to where I was. Instead of having like 9, 10 different checkpoints, but that also gets the difficulty to the game, which we'll get to.
Yeah, if you go down the wrong from the starting point of a Souls game, if you go down the wrong alley, you kind of really know
you're gonna know,
because you're not going to get anywhere near that loop around. You're not going to get anywhere near that gate that is like, oh, that gate is closed, so if we loop around here, we get back to this gate over here, and then we're back home base. If you go down the wrong alleyway, it's just you're just gonna get pancaked, and that's it. So
yeah, you walk down the wrong alleyway, and there's gonna be a skeleton in there, stab you through the gut. Like,
yeah,
the Dark Souls bitch.
The other thing that I was so one of the things too that, so a lot of times games, it'll be like checkpoint is just kind of like when we use the term checkpoint, usually in a game, especially like an RPG or something, it most likely be going to your if you arrive into a town. So say you're playing Skyrim or something. Back in those days, it was like as soon as you arrive to a town, that's your checkpoint. That's your save point right there. And then later on, after the Souls game started getting bigger, something like, say, Horizon 1, we see there's actual like fire pits everywhere for checkpoints, and you can actually fast travel off from them, and you can save at the checkpoints and everything. very reminiscent, and Horizon did that, very reminiscent of the bonfires in the Souls games. I think a lot, and like a God of War, for instance, your load screen is kind of the checkpoint, back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, you get like the safe area, the safe zone, and that's one thing where I feel like Souls games kind of took off from kind of like a Resident Evil type of reference or mentality of like you have this one area and it is your safe area, of like you have this one room.
Yeah, your central room to all the branching pathways.
Yeah. Like when in Resident Evil, when you find the room with the with the typewriter, you're safe. In Dark Souls, when you find the bonfire, you're safe. So it's where Souls games, they definitely take they take a lot of references from other games, but at the same time, like Miyazaki and the From Software team, they make it their own. And I think that's one of those very defining things about what makes the SoulsBorne game so different from everything else, is that it's definitely like the campfire is there as like this, oh, I made it. And it's after you hit the loop around. And so you go on this whole adventure, the map loops all the way around, and you get back, you might get back to that campfire. You might get to another campfire up here also. And it's just like, as soon as you get there, it's like, oh, I made it. I can finally bank these souls.
Yeah.
As upgrading your character.
As a SoulsBorne player, I mean, nothing more refreshing than you're clenching your butt cheeks because you have no Estus Flask or no blood vials.
Absolutely.
Left. You're carrying around, 20, 30,000 souls.
And
you're just like...
Please have the checkpoint around the next corner.
Yeah. Is it right around the next corner? You walk around the next corner, it's there. You're just like, praise the sun. Yeah, like I have that. I hit that point commonly where it's a new game, or I'm playing through a new game, and it's like, can I make it to that next bonfire?
Do I dare?
Or should I turn around and go back?
Yeah.
Because I know for sure I'm carrying way too many souls. I'm going to get greedy. I'm going to screw up. I'm going to get killed. And then I'm going to get frustrated and try to rush back to get those souls. And I'm going to get dying and losing them in the process.
I think that's one of those things that really makes up kind of this like Souls vibe also, is the whole thing of, I remember this was one of the things that was being brought up a lot of times of like what makes Souls games so hard. And it's the fact that if you get caught and you die, you're dead. But yeah, your souls are sitting there in the middle of all that pile of enemies that just rushed you, or maybe you just screwed up and fell off the side of the map or something, and then your souls are sitting there, and it's just this. As soon as you go back to grab it, it's just this constant reminder of either that you got walloped to death, or you did something stupid and you got killed, like you ran off the ledge or something.
Or you
it's just
like,
that might be the wrong way.
No, that says treasure below.
Yeah.
And you jumped off the cliff.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
Yeah. Especially if you're a new player coming into Souls games, just remember everybody's done everything. It's not so big of a deal.
Look before you leave.
Yeah.
Look before you leave.
Well, that's the thing too. Like a lot of the Souls games, it's very. You'll have a lot of areas where it's just like, can I actually make that jump? And you're like, there's no way. And then you go to watch somebody else do a playthrough on YouTube or something, or you see a walkthrough, and it's like, oh yeah, you can make that jump. And if you side roll over into this nook and cranny over here, you can actually find another little upgrade material or something over there. Souls games are very sneaky with the way that they hide everything.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
So that's
very forgiving too at times too.
Yeah.
Like my personal favorite is the mimics.
Yeah. Yeah. The chest that can
too many times. You get going, you're going good, you've been whooping ass, taking names. You find find a hidden room, and it's like, oh my god, there's like 10 chests in this room. And you start opening them up, not even thinking, and next thing you know, that last one you open up, you're dead, and there's like all those souls laying on the ground, just sitting there going, shit.
One of the thing game design wise on the Souls games too is there is no loading screens ever in Souls games, and there's a major reason for it, because the whole game is made like Dark Souls 1 is actually I seen a picture of the Dark Souls 1 map. It's actually the world map, not even just like one area, but the whole world is actually made in almost like a funnel where everything works everything's connected and works together all in one area. So you can go from the very starting spot all the way down to the final boss fight with no loading screens. Everything is rendered on the fly as you're going down through. And that is definitely something different from a lot of other games that, unless it's like a sandbox open world game, like a GTA, a Red Dead, a Horizon, now Elden Ring. That's actually one of the things that Elden Ring, I guarantee you, Elden Ring is made differently than any of the other Souls games because it is more of that open world.
You might have loading screens.
No, I'm pretty sure they said there is no loading screens in Elden Ring because it is made like GTA style. They have switched up the game engine of how it's actually rendering. So it's not just loading up. So like Demon Souls, when you hit the Arc Stone, you are literally loading up the whole world as one big world.
Yeah.
And then when you hit the next Arc Stone, you're loading up that as a whole other separate world and everything. And that's your loading screen is Arc Stone. In Elden Ring, it's made more like a Grand Theft Auto, like a Red Dead Redemption, like a anything that's like a sandbox game where it's open world like that. Like Skyrim back in the day didn't have any loading screens really. When you're out in the open world, it's Fallout and all that. There's like no.
So when you want like a building or a cave or something.
Yeah, and that's even that now because we have all this SSDs and all that stuff of the newer hardware. They can still get away with making just this one giant map. You fell through the map on Horizon on stream, and when I saw the way that it was funny, but if you actually like pay attention to like the map design of it and the way it's made, that's a giant map that's being loaded all in at one time. Mm-hmm. Like the amount of map that was actually there that you could see for like the baseline PS4 version of the game, I'm just like, wow, that's actually really impressive.
I will say though. Being on the baseline, I have progressed. Being the progression I've had in the game, I do have loading. I have sometimes where it's got to load for a second.
Yeah.
It'll stop and go to a loading screen.
I don't know how.
I'm on the baseline PS4, so.
So I definitely have experience every once in a while. Like if there's a ton of enemies in a room in Souls games, I definitely have experienced the moment of like pause where the game's like, okay, what the hell is the next area coming up? Because it's so when I say it's loading up the world, the map, it's not fully rendering the map all at once. It is loading up the data array for if you go into this room, as you're going through, it is rendering on the fly. So Elden Ring in one way is working the same as it always did, but it's just like the enemy drops in the open world and everything is definitely very different. That's the thing too. Like I haven't seen fully like when it goes from open world to dungeon running or castle running and everything. So
we can go on and on and on about the world design and stuff like that.
Yes.
Speaking of like designs, we start rolling into like characters.
So the next
character creation, how your styles.
The next one actually on the list that I have here is atmosphere. To go along with the world stuff, the atmosphere of the world itself is something that is very different. So most of the time you have something that is action oriented. It's got a very action feel to it. There's stuff blowing up in the backgrounds. There's bright lights, cameras flying all over the place. You got slow-mo going on. You got the whole, either Devil May Cry or a God of War or a what else is there of like the Purge has a lot of and as much as the Purge is kind of like this or the Surge, sorry. The Surge is
does the Purge have to do anything with SoulsBorne?
As much as the Surge is kind of like a Souls game, it definitely still has the whole thing of like there's explosions happening every once in a while in the background and whatnot with the machines, and there's lots of different stuff happening in the background, but it's not this eerie feeling. But then Nioh also, the same thing happens with Nioh. I think Nioh is way more of a Souls game than something like the Surge because Nioh's got this very everything is kind of dead, but at the same time it's it's just alive enough to kill you, but there's so much death around every single corner. And that's one of those things, whether it's medieval, Gothic, Japan, or future tech, The Souls games have this just dreadful feel and atmosphere around it, whether it's like the background noises or, you know, people crying in the background, babies crying in the background, people laughing hysterically because they're losing their mind, or if it's just like the things that go bump in the night, they're waiting to just come out to slice and dice you or eat you or whatever. That atmosphere that gets made in the Souls games is so it's so just specific. A lot of movies don't even hit that very well. Maybe one of the few ones I've actually seen is Book of Eli. Actually, did a very well job of like setting up this like very weird atmosphere of like, man, everything is fucking dead in this world, and it's just like this one guy trying to get across the lands and everything. Meanwhile, everything's trying to kill him because the world is just in this apocalyptic state.
Yeah, I haven't watched that. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it's Denzel Washington. There's actually a fight scene in there. He did it in one take. He fucking he takes out like 12 guys. He did it in one take, and everybody's like, "Oh my god!" It's very Fallout-ish, very Fallout feeling. So I think we'll go from atmosphere over to design, since we are kind of going on to that. So like I said, screeches, eerie noises, hit stuns. Player characters have no dialogue. So the hit stuns, very Souls-like. Not a lot of games have that big, like when you parry something, you get that big boom, and then you can go up to it and just give that big
There's
old
always
stab.
that iconic noise when you know you parried and you did it.
Yeah.
You did it good, or you got parried.
There's that boom or that ding or something like hits, and it's just like, in all honesty, you could have a stream going on in the background.
Like, yeah, when you doesn't see, you're like, oh no.
Especially when it happens to you, it's just like, oh no, and you just start spamming buttons to try and roll out, and it's just like,
and you're just done.
I'm just getting hit right here.
You're just gonna take it.
But also the players having no character dialogue really pushes that atmospheric thing of like trying to draw you into the atmosphere without it being a first person shooter. Miyazaki definitely has said before that it's part of the game's design is to try and make you feel like you are part, or you are in the world. And part of that, the reason why they don't want to have the main character have any dialogue is because if that main character says something that you wouldn't say, it takes you out of it. You know, it just becomes a totally other character than yourself, pretty much. So no dialogue in the world. Plus, also, you know, the way that the dialogue is spoken to, and that's there's been recent podcasts where the localization, one of the head people of the localization team for his Souls games, he said that basically Miyazaki, the way he wants the direction of the voiceover to be in is very soft and low key. So it's almost like a disturbingly soft and low key, you know, way of speaking, just to make the world even more eerie. It gives that sense of like, people are absolutely going mad in this world because there's all this darkness and this, you know, this bad feeling, this bad voodoo darkness magic that's happening around the game world, and it's either everybody's like, there's no way we can go on, or it's I'm gonna use this to get powerful. And depending on how they go, they either turn to a boss fight or they turn to an NPC. So yeah, sound design, I feel like there's other games that have really taken on that sound design. Like Nioh kind of really does that. I think some of the Assassin's Creeds have, you know, the more recent Assassin's Creeds have really done that too. And that's talking about Nioh and Assassin's Creed and everything. Let's go into combat real quick. Difficulty and your styles, your builds, the weight of the characters, the tight controls that are happening. A big part of the tight.
Like the difference, the weight in general. It's like the difference between you're whipping around like the katana. It's fast, it's quick, poke, and then you go to that ultra great sword, and it's got that wind up and that, you know, and you feel it.
One of the cool things
Like, I
about
don't know how to
Souls
explain
games,
it otherwise.
I always notice this as soon as, so if you go with a straight sword, you get a lot of the that cross, that like X pattern cutting, or you get the stab. When you go with the katana, you get that very circular motion, which is what they always teach with a katana. You always want the curve of the blade is to curve around, and you always are trying to curve that blade. Then you have something that is more like the hammer, where it's just bam, you just bonk somebody with it. And the feeling of those different, swords to a hammer, to a mace, to like the mace, a lot of times you want to parry with it and then just stick it in the side of their head, and bah, and it looks like they're almost trying to take their heads off. So all these different weapons have a very distinctive, different feel to them, and a lot of times, so even like God of War, the latest God of War, I will definitely say this: between the axe and the twin blades, it feels pretty much the same. Like there's just that very distinct combo system. But funny enough, Assassin's Creed and God of War have both gone Soul style in a sense, and that combat really relies on the lock and stamina system. So the lock on, the stamina system, and everything. Not, God of War used to be one of the epitome hack and slash games where you pop them up in the air and you do combos for days up in the air, just like Devil May Cry. So Devil May Cry is still hack and slash. God of War has turned into a Souls game. Assassin's Creed was the epitome of like, so Jade, oh geez, what was her name? Jade, Jade Raymond. Jade Raymond, when she was the lead producer of Assassin's Creed 1 through, I think it was Black Flag or so, her thing was always make it so it feels like you are a puppeteer and you are pulling the strings on the character that's on the screen of Altair Ezio. And so every single fight that you would have, you have the straight up lock on. Like to be able to engage somebody in Assassin's Creed, you had to lock on with the L2, and then you had to parry and actually learn how to use the sword in a real sword fight. That is so much like so Valhalla and Assassin's Creed Origins up to Valhalla, we have seen that be turned into the Souls style genre, and that's because the Souls style genre is exactly like learn the weapons of the game. If you do not learn how to use that weapon, you are going to lose at that. You have to do footsies. Also, Elden Ring too. Coming back to combat and styles and builds and characters have weight and everything. There's a reason why a lot of the fighting game players like Elden Ring so much. It's because Elden Ring, Souls games, hopefully Elden Ring also, because there is a lot of horse combat in it, but the Souls games, almost every single one of them have footsies. They have timing spacing. Yep. They have negative frames. All your fighting game knowledge comes in so clutch when you're playing Souls games, and that is very different from any other action RPG game out there. Yeah, like it's just something to do with that lock-on system, the stamina management, and also, like I said, the style, the way that the weapons work. It all comes together.
We're going on with this too. Just get it out there for. Because we got Elden Ring coming, maybe might have a new crew coming in for be like, oh, this looks really fun. They haven't ever touched the SoulsBorne.
I feel like a lot of Skyrim players are going to try out Elden Ring, and it's going to be a very different experience for them than what Skyrim was.
It's not going to be. It's not going to be you run up and step. It's and pop in the air, do all this crap. You gotta watch your stamina. You gotta like grab that weapon. You're like, oh, that's a really cool weapon. Equip it. Sit there and swing it a few times. Get the feel for the weapon before you rush into combat with it.
You know what
you know your wind up. You know how long it's going to take to
absolutely agree. I wonder though if because Souls games have gotten so popular and they are so mainstream now and they've been out for so long, I do kind of wonder if players are going to be coming in with this very like I have to like they might start turtling up. Basically, to use a fighting game term also, where they don't want to swing.
Getting really defensive.
Yeah, Yeah. So they don't
Oh,
want
no.
to swing. They don't want to actually do
No.
combat as much because they want to be very careful of how they get hit and everything because they see so many, you see so many videos now where it's like somebody's just getting walloped one shot by boss fights and everything. I'm wondering.
It's gonna happen.
I know. It absolutely is going to happen. I'm wondering if the new crew is going to be very wary of it though, because they're like, my God, this is the hardest game ever.
That's a big thing you got to come to terms with too in any SoulsBorne type genre game. You will die.
Yeah.
You will die a lot. It will become frustrating. You will want to rage quit.
Death is a part of it.
But that's
Embrace
a part
death.
of the game. It's a part of the game. It's like Wolf here. His biggest thing is it's the learning curve.
Mm-hmm. And
figuring out that you think you got all these enemies all figured out, and you go to that next area. This enemy, it's a whole different enemy, whole different attack pattern. Yep. It's not a game you can just go and you're through.
The crazy thing is though is like I've been streaming through all the Bloodborne stuff, and I just finished up the Demon Souls run there not too long ago, and the craziest thing of it is like as many different types of enemies that there is, and as much as you are having to learn new attack patterns by different enemies, and like do they do long reaches, do they do overhead, do they do slaps or strikes or whatever, do they grab you? Meanwhile you're figuring all that stuff out, your weapon so well, so you're going in with at least that much confidence that it's like, okay, I know I got this much reach. I know I got this timing on my stab. I know I got this timing on my swipe. I know, like on Demon Souls, like I know I can light everything on fire with that sword that I had. On Bloodborne, I can wallop them with the hammer if I'm really, or I can use the big like two-handed damn near looking buster sword thing that I got with the Ludwig sword on Bloodborne. And so like walking into the area, I'm like, okay, if something's really big, I'm gonna swing for the fences and try and knock that thing and hope like hell it staggers. If it don't stagger, I gotta back up. I gotta run back a little bit.
When it comes down to like the whole like creation, like your play style, what weapon types you do, what magics you use, how you're gonna play it how you want to play it.
Yes.
Don't listen to Tom, Dick, and Harry tell you, oh, that ain't meta. I'm playing your ass kicked.
Go in there
doing something different.
Like if you're looking at the videos online of like, this is the set that you want for this boss fight, here's where your brain should be going, but does it fit with my personal style? Because going into armor's weapon and armor, which is my next bulletin point, depending on the weapon and armor that you have, you might be very slow and tanky, or you might be, where tanking the hit is where you can take a big hit and not take so much damage, but you are very slow with it. So it depends on.
Fighting cowboy here, you could be the guy that runs in there dual wielding axes, going nuts, going full on zug, or the dance around poke dexterity guy, or the mage that sits back there and just throws magic missile at the enemies. I mean, you can mix it up.
Yeah, like
you don't have to go one path.
And that's like, we have two very different builds on our characters overall. It's like I like to be, I have to move. I have to be able to move. If I can't zip around, like Bloodborne, that's why I like Bloodborne's combat the most of all the games. Also, Demon Souls, I was doing a pretty decent job of it too. That's why in Demon Souls, instead of going to big armor, I was like mid-tier armor basically, with just a very big ass, like attack power on the sword, because I like to be able to, zip and zing out of the way of everything. Basically, if I can build myself feeling like Dante from Devil May Cry without all the air juggling going on, I'm cool. That's why Bloodborne is like, oh my God, I can fucking zip around.
That's
Nothing
one thing
can touch
that I
me.
recently realized when a couple years back when I was going through Dark Souls 1. It's like, yeah, that armor's got great stats. It's got great defense and everything. You can really take a hit from it.
I can't move.
And that sword's really powerful. when it comes down to it, and you need to move that boss fight, that boss hit, you can't block with your shield, or you're gonna get pancaked from, and you can't roll out of the way. You're gonna get hit.
If you
So
can't,
take that in mind.
yeah, if you can't
If
move
you're
and
fat rolling,
you can't hit your
you're
elixir,
fat rolling.
or you
Not
can't,
normally good.
you can't hit your health pack at all because you're so slow you can't get out of the way. It's like, yeah, you're just relying on your defense at that point, which that's where I'm like, man, I can't move though. Some people can set it up and do really good builds like that. Personally, my preference is just not that. Like, I like to be able to have that sense of freedom to movement and all that. Like Frostbite,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you're going to be trying to put down probably like a health spell for like recovering health, and then on top of that, dropping in fucking nukes of purple meteorites and stuff, and like fireballs and everything else.
I don't know.
For like Elden Ring.
I definitely like doing a cross between magic and like heavier weapons, not exactly super heavy weapons. But I don't know. I mean, I've never really done miracles.
The fucking Final Fantasy build over here. Yeah. He's trying to do magic and go ape shit with a Buster Sword. I see how it is. He's trying to play Final Fantasy 7.
It eventually comes down to the point: what do I want to focus on? Do I want to be more magic, or do I want to be more stabby slashy? And sometimes it just comes down to the fact that, like, how am I going to build this character? Like,
for me,
it's a fine balance between being able to dish the damage with the spell and still be able to hurt something with it. Being able to throw a spell a couple times to back off, pop your flask, and chuck a couple spells at the enemy just to get yourself back in the rhythm. Yeah, it's great because like I love when I see that health bar going down. That's my thing. And when I don't see that health bar going down, I'm like, okay, something's going on here. Something ain't right.
He starts to panic and he's like, wait a second, why am I not doing as much damage as I thought I was going to be doing? Oh no. In all honesty, that is a very Souls thing too. So if you start to panic of like, why am I not doing so much damage? Oh god, I'm gonna get pancaked. Just go in and actually learn the boss fight's attack pattern. Even if you're going to get walloped to death, you're still picking something out, and you're in that skill of like figuring out the puzzle of the boss fight that I'm always harping on because I've heard Miyazaki say that before of like we make these games a little bit tougher, so then you have to overcome your own adversity of it's where the meme of the get good comes from. But I feel like people just took that so out of proportion of what the Souls genre was really all about to begin with. Of like, okay, the Souls genre is there. It's just like if you're playing a fighting game, you're playing online. You start out button mashing. You're just slamming on buttons and hoping for something to come out. Then you hit the lab. And you start to figure out, okay, this attack goes into that attack. This attack goes into that attack. Okay, this one is this and this, and it's.
And that's what I come down to. Like, you get that new weapon, you really want to check it out. Like, sit there or swing it a few times. If you really want to feel it in combat, don't be afraid to go back to lower level enemies, and that
absolutely
you get overpowered.
Oh yeah,
just to get the feel of the combat.
Every time you get a new weapon, man, every time you get a new weapon. Go over to little smaller enemies and just start beating on them.
You'll probably see me and Wolf do this. If you come watch our streams or catch us on YouTube, you'll probably see us do that in Elden Ring. Because we're walking into a whole new game. You don't know
figure out what the hell these weapons do.
Exactly.
Especially something like Bloodborne, where the weapons all have like unique. Every single weapon in Bloodborne has a unique alternate form of it. Yeah, you can transform the weapon, and it's just like, okay, so
you got this little fencer sword, pokey dagger sword, then you turn around, you step this great big brick on the back of your back and turns into a freaking sledgehammer.
Like the Kirk hammer is just like, what? Okay, I can pancake people with this thing now if I turn it into the other form, and then I can stab. I can if I just want that stab.
When I pick up the DLC, it looks like a cross between a club and a sword, and you hit the button and whoosh, you got a whip sword.
The little cane that you start off with also does that same stuff too. So if you're in the market to trying out a SoulsBorne game, definitely Bloodborne is like a great spot to try. Just be wary that not all the games have transforming weapons. And that's one of those very cool things about Bloodborne itself, is that the weapons all transform and they have different, like you have like two different styles of play where it's not so much two different builds, but you just have two different styles for your build with each weapon that you pick up, which is awesome.
Yeah. In my opinion too, if you're gonna do a Dark Souls game, go with 3. 3 is a little bit more straightforward on its path, and it's easier.
Everyone, so from me seeing Souls games over like I guess like 6-7 years now of like Twitch and YouTube and everything, the one for like YouTube for Twitch streamers, when they are first learning, they don't know a damn thing about Souls games, a lot of them end up picking up Dark Souls 3 because that's the one that is like quote unquote the easiest one to pick up and play and learn and everything. Yes. For me, the easiest one to actually
they ain't really too keen on where you gotta go.
Yeah,
they leave you to wander, and that wandering normally get you killed and get you frustrated because you're going into an area that you shouldn't be going into yet, and you're getting completely overpowered, and you don't know what the hell you gotta do.
So
you come back around to the hub, and you're like, okay, where do I go now?
I do want to transition into one more big talking point in this video. But before we do that, I just wanted to bring up the fact that Souls games really brought the whole thing of like, if you wonder why a lot of action games went from like your square or X button and over to your triangle and your Y button for like your lights and heavy attacks. So basically your face buttons over here on the controller for your lights and heavies, and then all of a sudden now everything is L or R1 and R2. That's a lot to do with the Souls genre too. It was this different feel of how they kind of like a different feel of how they wanted to do of like, okay, so now you're gripping that controller for dear life, trying to hit that R1 to try and hit as many attacks as possible, versus just doing this and slamming on the face buttons and being like, I'm just going to button mash my way through it. There's definitely a very distinctive reason why. Also, if you hold on to the R2, a lot of times in all the Souls games, you get this like power up ability that smacks with the heavy attack, which it just feels so much more smoother to do that when you're holding on to that big ass R2 button, and it's like, okay, this is gonna be a heavy ass attack. Here we go, and you just go for it. If it was something on the face buttons, I feel like it'd be more like a combo. So it'd be like a square triangle, and then all of a sudden it would go for it. Not saying that you couldn't do a wind up.
L1, circle.
Yeah.
Circle. Square. Circle.
So now to transition over to, did you have one more?
One last. Okay. Yeah, I have one thing I want to do in there too. Again, for all the new people, before we transition over this, sticking back for this, don't ever be afraid to stop and grind.
Yeah, grind is part of the Souls thing.
Of the game. Especially if you want, you need that one chunk of stone to upgrade your sword. Go find out where it is and go grind for it. And that one little level or that one little upgrade your weapon could make all the difference in the next area, the next boss fight.
I will stress too, so if you're coming off from something like a Monster Hunter, because Monster Hunter and Souls games do have similar combat in ways, it's definitely it's very different because like Souls games are very weighted down, but they do have that similar like stamina and lock on and attack patterns and combos and all that stuff. So if you're coming from like a Monster Hunter over to a Souls game and you're hearing about there's a grind factor for stuff. One thing I do want to stress is that a lot of times, most of the times, really, like 99% of the time, you can actually pinpoint where to grind for a certain thing, so it's not fully RNG. A lot of times, like Demon Souls had a couple RNG moments in it of like, I need this thing to upgrade my sword. It won't drop for me. It's like, it's one of those moments. I've had that on stream.
Yeah, where I'm like, not always guaranteed that item.
If you go into an
But don't
area,
ever.
most of the time you can. It's like it's you can pretty much guarantee like a shard or something is going to drop. You might not get chunks, but you'll at least get the shards, so you can get yourself up at least a couple levels until you need to start doing the shards or the chunks. I mean,
And
whatever.
don't ever let the word grind in a Souls game scare you off, because again, that grind can be the difference between walking up to that boss and getting him looking at you funny and you just keeling over, or you completely
I
walloping
will
him.
say though that grind makes the game feel like a full-on adventure. Like it makes it even more so that
Mm-hmm.
adventure aspect of it. That's the reason why I like the only Souls game that I've started and actually gone all the way through and finished. I'm about ready to finish a Bloodborne, but my first one was just recently with Demon Souls, and that's the reason why, because there is so much of a grind factor. So if you don't have a ton of time to jump into, like say an Elden Ring, that is something to be wary of, is that there is going to take a long period of time of like, okay, I got to upgrade my character.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking for something that is going to be like a quick little weekend game, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know on that. Between
I
the
mean, if you intend on possibly spending your entire weekend just grinding to get yourself prepped for that boss fight, sure.
sometimes,
I
yeah,
mean,
sometimes it can be
Souls can
that
be kind
that
of Souls
yeah.
can be kind of casual. I mean, if you want to keep it casual, like we don't really know exactly how the invasion system is going to work in this new game. Just go on offline mode. It prevents. I mean, yeah, it screws you from being able to do co-op, but it also prevents other people from invading you and just ruining your day.
Again, though,
Because you will find
also
that a lot in the Souls games.
part of the grind, so part of the adventure is the grind, and it is getting your skill level up there. So in one way, it's like don't be afraid of the grind, but also be patient with the grind. I think,
Mm-hmm.
and because the more that you are going through and upgrading your sword and upgrading your character, then the more you're also upgrading yourself. You're getting that muscle memory down of like there's only one way to get muscle memory, and that's to keep practicing, keep doing it. And I cannot stress this enough of like if you're doing it solo yourself, you're getting that muscle memory down. And I think that's one of those
Yeah.
things with Souls games more than it's like you can do this you can do the same thing with Monster Hunter also, and the thing is though you don't need the muscle memory as much with something like a Monster Hunter, or like a God of War, or even Valhalla, or Assassin's Creed I should say, the newest Assassin's Creed. um, the muscle memory isn't as intense as it is with a Souls game, because there is such a heavy hit on the boss fights and everything. Um, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of times in other games that are not Souls games, they tend to give you major power ups. So they have like the thing of like, oh, if you hold this button and hit that, you hit these two buttons, you're going to get this major big attack. And Souls games just don't really have that. Like you don't have this big
Yeah.
major like I'm going to throw a lightning bolt at this guy's head moment of like, because I got this bar hit the green zone, so now I have this whole like Assassin's Creed. They went full on like I can like Spartan kick you across the map because I built up the meter over here, which is cool for Assassin's Creed, but that makes it feel like Assassin's Creed, and it takes away from the Souls
Mm-hmm.
feel of it. Which that's one of the things I kind of love about Souls games is I feel like I'm progressing as a player, and also my character is progressing too at the same time, because I'm building up my character. I'm also getting better myself at figuring out the timings, figuring out the muscle memory. So when I see something come flying at me, I don't even have to think about it. I just do it. I just jump out of the way of it.
Yeah.
And once you get that down, it's just like, whoa, I just survived that. Cool, nice. Um, so one last big bulletin thing I have on here is story. Side characters making up a lot of stories in the game world. The ability to kill every NPC, not only just and the fact that
Makes you
there's not
feel like
many
it.
humans, that remain in the world. Like there's a bunch of undead, and then there's a few humans left in every single Souls game. No superhuman abilities, more faith and darkness powers. So one of the big things about Souls games is the darkness overseeing the land and the fog rolling in from the darkness. Now, you could have the whole thing of like, I am God of Olympus and I will rise and destroy everything. That's not Souls. That's not Souls at all. It's just regular people having faith in their ability to destroy these demons because they're fighting for their land. And that is where the whole atmosphere kind of blends in with the storyline and the world itself. Also, it all comes together in this package deal of like, the NPCs are usually always like, you know, if they are this proud NPC, a lot of times they turn into a boss fight. If they are sorrow filled, a lot of times they're helping you. And the crazy thing about Souls games, similar to Bethesda games, is like Fallouts and Elder Scrolls, especially Elder Scrolls, is the fact that you can actually kill any NPC. So anybody that you come across, you can destroy them. Even the lays that help upgrade you, you can kill them. It's not good if you do.
Swinging that sword.
Yeah, it's very. It's
a couple times I've honestly in Dark Souls 2, there's a couple NPCs that you can totally unintentionally kill because you thought they looked like a monster. You thought it was you crash to this door and there's this big monster thing there and you kill it and oops shit, I just killed a merchant for further down the game. That's been really helpful.
What's funny is I was putting down my controller one time and I accidentally hit the R2 button on my desk when I was putting down the controller, and the lady the black maiden lady there of the Nexus, she was just in the way of my sword, and oopsie, she fucking got lit on fire for a second, and I was like, oh no, I don't want to kill
Most
you.
DLCs are kind of forgiving. They're not going to immediately go ape shit on you because you accidentally poked them.
And that's
you hit them 3 or 4 times. That's when they're going to come unglued on you, and that's when it's you're going to have to put them in the dirt.
Two things you can definitely keep an eye out for, and this is one of those things with Souls games that is kind of forgiving, actually, is a lot of the NPCs that you want to keep alive have a ton of health before you engage them to be an enemy. They have a ton of health, so you can actually smack them a few times, and it's like, oh, sorry, my bad, and they won't do anything. But also, you can't lock on to them, and so that's a surefire way to tell if somebody's an ally. Is if you cannot lock on to them and they don't, if they have a name just over the top of their head and there's no health bar that pops up, to double check and to triple check is, can I R3 lock onto them? If I can't R3 lock onto them, okay, don't swing at them, talk to them, because they're probably somebody that's going to help you out. And then also sometimes if you talk to them, turn your back on them, then they will try and take your head off too. You just got to be careful of that, because every NPC, who the hell knows? That's the reason why something like an Elden Ring, when it comes out, everybody's going to be like, ooh, who is this guy? Oh no. There was actually one of the cool things I've seen in one of the first Elden Ring playthroughs I saw. There's this character that is a cup or a vase or whatever the hell it is, and it has arms and it talks to you. It's like, I'm stuck over here. I'm somebody in this world. And they made like little statues of it and everything, and everybody's like, what the fuck is talking right now? And because nobody could click onto it to figure out where it was at, it took people like a good 5 minutes to be like, this fucking bowl over here is talking to me. It has arms. It's stuck in the ground. I'm gonna go and like push it out of the ground. And then you just end up figuring out like, oh yeah, it's just like cool ass. I don't know if the guy's supposed to give you anything of upgrades or anything. I just know that there's a bowl that talks. That's about as much as I know of it. But yeah, it's like one of these solid like indicators. Anyways, also the story. Oh god, the story. So I have 2 points on Souls games. You know it's a Souls game because the story never gets fully told to you in the world unless you read the description on every item. That's a very Soulsy type of thing. On top of that, the Souls storylines, once you actually deep dive in, you go on like YouTube and watch other like videos. I don't make Souls lore videos, but I have been watching them recently on the lead up to Elden Ring, watching like Demon Souls, and that led into I kind of spiraled down a deep dark hole of Souls lore videos, and there is definitely some references to like Lord of the Rings and such, because Miyazaki's a giant Lord of the Rings fan. But also there's just this it puts a different spin, a different perspective on the world. All of a sudden, if you go, like, I would almost say before you play a Souls game, actually deep dive the lore, because it gives you this whole new perspective on the world and everything, the reason why everything is the way it is. I'll a quick one is, so you've seen these bonfires everywhere, and Frostbite over here is going to know it because I've already told him about this. But the so the bonfires, bonfire is short for a bone fire, like it's derivative of an old term of like rest your bones next to the fire, basically, and tell stories next to the bonfire. So bone turned into bone. What was it? Bone turned into bonfire. And if you actually look, because of this is a reference in the game. Why I'm bringing it up? If you actually look at the bonfires, they
it's pull up a picture and like show
it is, well, I'll do it in post.
Okay.
It is it's actually bones that are, that's the reason why it's an eternal flame, because it's the bones of all the players, basically the tarnished, or the player characters of all the different people that have been like sacrificing their energy into, because it's like dark energy, like Dark Souls 1. If you go to the bonfire and you upgrade yourself, look at what happens with like the spirit and everything that happens. It actually, like, the darkness of your spirit flows out of you and goes into the bonfire, and you'll see the fire like whoosh, like rise up for a second, because it's basically the bonfire is like absorbing the dark energy of you. And what you are doing essentially when you are upgrading yourself, you are like casting away the dark energy out of yourself, so you're becoming stronger by overcoming the darkness inside you. It's the story. It's the story lore like that, which is like awesome with the Souls.
You're talking about like all the players, and all the people who died and stuff like that. Little Easter egg. I don't know if it's an Easter egg or what, but I don't know if it's still going or not. But in Dark Souls 2, and the main hub, there's like this big stone that this dude's sitting by. You walk up to that stone and click on it, and it's like it shows like the total number of people that have died in the game, playing through the game.
Damn.
Like how many times people have died. It's up there. It was like, yeah, it was some outrageous number when I was playing. I looked at it.
Billions dead.
Yeah.
Oh man, I could just imagine. Like, you wait like 10 years later, and you come back to that, and it's just like, oh. Jeez. Although Dark Souls 2 is the most hated Souls game out of them all, so.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
but
wasn't a big fan of it.
But yeah, this is I mean, overall, all these different points create something that is so very unique to any other genre game out there. I just wanted to really make a highlights video of the reason why everybody's so hyped up over Elden Ring, because Elden Ring is a part of a genre of games that is just done so much different, that it's actually spawned other games that are these big mega blockbuster games to actually change their styles. To think that God of War has been around since the PS2 era, and it changed its style into this genre of like a Soulsy kind of it's like a Souls meets a fighting game is what they tried to make the newest God of War like. Which is kind of crazy to think that this genre of it's what, this genre's been out for like 10 years at this point, and it has had that much influence over these new game designers and everything that are coming out. I mean, we just had the Bloodborne PSX, the demake of the PS1 version of a Bloodborne game and everything. There's so much artwork and cosplays and just all these different people making weapons from the game. There's statues and board games and t-shirts, as I'm wearing a Bloodborne one right now. It's really, really crazy seeing, like, in the last 10 years, well, I what is it, 10, 15 years? I'll look it up and you'll see the stats on the video. But yeah, just seeing it blow up to the way it was. I wasn't sure. This and Battle Royale, I wasn't sure if those two were actually going to blow up. And they took off so crazy. The next thing that we need is Souls Battle Royale game, I think. So yeah, Yeah, I think I think that is going to probably start to wrap it up. I mean, my whole thing. Talking about story actually. So my first real introduction to Souls games was Dark Souls 1. I tried it, did not like it. I actually reinstalled it 8 times over again, did not like it at all. I thought the game was cheesy and cheap and just bullshit. And then I checked out Nioh 1, and that, for whatever reason, Nioh 1 just made it click. Hitting the face buttons and going back to the hack and slash feel, but having the whole stamina system and lock on system, I was just like, oh, okay, so I can skip around people and I can slash. And if you do a 1, 2, 3, 4, jump back. And that whole thing just kind of made it start clicking with me, because I guess it was just the face buttons. And I started being like, oh, okay, hack and slash, face buttons. All right. Came back to Dark Souls 1, started using got used to using R1, R2. So weird when I first started doing that. And then I actually, I had to look up a walkthrough to figure out what the fuck was the first area. Little did I know, because there was, Dark Souls 1, when you come off the bonfire, you go to the forward and to the right, you have the dude stand there that gives you the gesture or whatever for like the the faith whatever, and then there's just like this elevator shaft that there's no way of getting the elevator down. I'm like, what the hell? Okay, whatever, that's just weird. And then if you go to the left hand side, you find the skeletons that would just one shot you when you're first starting out, because you're not supposed to be over there yet. If you go backwards and down through, you can talk to this chick that does absolutely nothing. But then if you go farther down, then there's just ghosts down there, and you can't actually hit them with your weapons. I'm just like, what is this cheap horseshit? I don't like this at all. This is dumb. Then I watched a YouTube video after reinstalling the game about 10 times over again, after getting frustrated and pissed off and everything. And then finally I'm like, oh, you go to the far right-hand side, and there's a little pathway that leads up to a bridge. As soon as I did that, boom, started running through Dark Souls. So definitely don't be afraid to look up guides, but for certain, I would definitely say try and play the game as much without the guide as possible. Just like look around thoroughly and figure out where you're going. What's your story? Just like a real quick recap of how you got into Souls games.
I originally had picked it up, so I was like, it looked cool to me.
Mm-hmm.
Come to find out that it was a really, really hard game. I'm not gonna lie, I got so pissed off at it that I actually literally snapped my first copy of the game in half. But after seeing a bunch of people playing it and
Remember,
stuff,
kids,
and a few friends were talking about
don't break your stuff.
I got back into the game, and then after having a friend kind of explain to me like the combat and everything like that, and learning that, oh yeah, okay, dying is part of the game.
Yeah. You're not meant to be the badass.
That's when I started getting into it. Yeah, that's when I started getting better. I really got into it because, like, I like the challenge. I really do.
It's one of those things, like, it's either you're going to really just give up and not be like, fuck this is too hard, or you're going to be like, okay, this was hard, but I got somewheres. So can I get to the next area? Can I get to the next area?
Your biggest thing is like, when you finally beat that boss, you're just like, that's been whooping the fucking shit out of you. You're like,
that rewarding. Yeah. That's
my ass. I'm a badass. I want my ass beat more.
You earn your badassery in Souls games. I think that's one of those key things also about it, is like, the story foretells that, the warrior of the bonfire or whatever is one that earns their rite of passage, basically, and that's definitely what the player is doing. I think Souls games are the epitome of the whole thing of when I say, the endings are memorable, but the journey is unforgettable. When you go through all of everything that you do, and especially if you go through it solo and you overcome all these different obstacles, the boss fights and everything, there is just this whole thing of like, holy shit, I just made it through there. I just did it. I just got that. I just beat that. It took me hours to do it, but I just did that. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the other thing too, is sometimes that boss I don't know, they're doing Elden Ring, but they didn't know the Souls games. Sometimes when you beat that boss, you get that boss's soul, and sometimes that soul turns into a really nice weapon.
Yeah.
And sometimes even you get an armor set to go along with, or at least a piece of armor to go along with, that boss you just beat.
Which is, I feel like that's going to be a big thing in Elden Ring too. Of like, okay, I just beat the first boss dude that's in front of the gate to this castle, and now I'm gonna walk in, like king shit with this big ass golden sword. Like I feel like that's definitely going to be one of those things that's there, and it's just like, yeah, what now? You go in with all your confidence on a pure high, and then you go against the first like major tall enemy. It's just and that's it. It's like, well, okay, I was confident, and then and then it's just that journey though of like, you're just building yourself up after that, and you just keep going through that. It's like right now I am currently, as of the recording of this video, I've gotten up to the very end of Bloodborne, and I'm just like, I got this, I can do it, I know I can do it. I just need to beat this boss fight to end the game out. And that's it's as soon as I beat that boss fight, it's gonna be like,
you're the one that decided that you wanted to go the route you did, so you got two boss fights.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway,
just rendered and been like, you know what? I'm done.
I should have, but the journey. I gotta complete the journey all the way through.
That also leaves to be like, how many different endings is Elden Ring gonna have? Like, how many times is it gonna be? To run, you're gonna run through the game to get to the
I've heard 5. I've heard 8. I don't know. There's a lot of different depending on, because
so far all Souls games have like 3.
Yeah. So with Elden Ring, you can work with a lot of different factions or whatever. Like the head of each area is a different faction that you're basically like you're freeing them or something or other. Maybe I something about you can work with them. Anyways, at one point or another, maybe you're freeing the darkness from their kingdom, so they're gonna work with you or something, because you are becoming the Elden Lord. So you are like the big king honcho of everyone. That's what you're trying to become in this one. So definitely if you're bringing everyone together, then yeah, we only have so much lore to go by for right now because the game isn't out yet. But yeah, it's gonna be a fun thing to see.
With the finger maidens and,
oh boy, yes, it's all about the finger maidens. Yeah, I can't wait to finger some.
The exploring between and.
Anyways, but yes, I think we're gonna wrap this up here. It's been an hour of this whole video.
Oh, and I was also gonna say, since we're signing off, come check out my stream on this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because I'm gonna bring back an old character that just kind of came forth from a conversation between me and Wolf, and I've been screwing around with it once in a while, but good old Lord Pickle Dick. He's gonna be having his adventures through the Elden Ring.
That's Mr. Pickle Dick to you. So yes,
I do the voice when it's like ass, but I'm still getting my voice back.
So yeah, go check out the rest of the channel. You know what to do. There is all the VODs, VOD replay or stream replays, the other Let's Talks on there that are definitely shorter than this one. This was just a big one that I wanted to do before Elden Ring dropped, because the Souls genre just has so much to it. But yeah, go check out the rest of the YouTube channel. There's all kinds of different stuff. So if you want to keep up with all the different things I'll be putting up and more, you know what to do. Hit the like button on this one if you liked it. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. So with all that being said, go and check out the Elden Ring. It is out tomorrow at midnight. Also, you can come through and check out my live stream too, because we will be doing a big launch night. You can also check out the stream replay here on YouTube, but that's going to wrap it up for this one. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for stopping by. And as always, I will see ya next time.